Up+Adam.
Tractor systems are offline.
We are Beyond FM.
Beyond FM.
The future of broadcasting is here.
Up+Adam with Adam Montiel. It's community content from Concentrate. It's Up+Adam with Adam Montiel.
Some say life is where it begins. Straight to the stars is where it ends. Yes, some say life is just where it begins. Straight to the stars is where it ends. Only to start again.
Happy Tuesday. Oh yeah, True Crime Tuesday, baby. It's on. Thanks for being Up+Adam. My name is Adam Montiel. And we know true crime isn't just a genre. It is a pulse. Today we're pulling up a chair at the crime table with two women who aren't just telling the stories. They are living the responsibility of telling them correctly. Courtney Armstrong and Baudi Moovan. They're the voices behind True Crime Tonight. It is a nightly iHeartRadio hit where forensic obsession meets fearless empathy. Whether it's breaking headlines, cold case callbacks, or courtroom chaos, this show has become a home base for the curious and the justice-minded equally. But behind the mics, these women have seen some things for sure. Courtney actually embedded herself deep in the Piketon massacre, knocking on doors when no one else would. And Baudi, she helped track down a killer with her keyboard. That's 100% serious. Her work was immortalized in the viral Netflix doc, Don't Fuck with Cats, which we will talk about. If you haven't seen that, oh my gosh, mind blown for a true crime documentary. They're going to join me today for raw, powerful chat about darkness, digital justice, and how you hold on to your humanity when your job is to stare into the abyss and then hit record. That's later coming up on Up+Adam. Don't go anywhere. All right, first, this quick article. This I saw on Vox. And they just did a big article about hummingbirds. Hummingbirds, obviously cute, right? Unless you're a psycho. And speaking of psycho behavior, you might be murdering your hummingbirds and not even know it. So the website Vox just did a big article on how the hummingbird feeder in your yard might be poisoning them. The too long didn't read version? Yeah, let's go TLDR on this. You're probably not cleaning it enough. Whether you make their food or buy it, it's basically just sugar water, right? And sugar water spoils way faster than you think, especially in hot weather. And if you don't clean their feeder and replace that liquid, they can end up with bacterial, fungal infections, and it can kill them. Yeah, a study in 2019 found most of the microbes aren't deadly enough to cause huge declines, say, in the hummingbird population, but it happens often. One expert said it's fairly common for dirty feeders to at least make them sick. So how often should you be cleaning your feeder? Ideally, every day, maybe every other day, but at least every other day. Who's doing that? No one's doing that. The article said, quote, if you wouldn't leave your drink sitting out in the sun for 3 days and then drink it, don't do it for hummingbirds. If you replace the liquid every few days, every other day, say, you can just rinse your feeder with hot water. But if it's been a while, you should really get in there with some water, vinegar, hydrogen peroxide, clean that beast up. You're hurting your hummingbirds. They weigh less than a penny. They're so little. All right, good article. I want to get right to this conversation. This is going to be a blast. First, though, got to tell you about Pink Drink. Bring your thirst, leave your excuses, because in 4 weeks, we pour pink, baby. Pink Drink is back. Saturday, July 12th, Elks Lodge in Slow. Over 30 of the hottest producers in wine, beer, cider, spirits, craft cocktails, all poolside, all dressed in pink. Curated bites, past abs, a live DJ. I mean, we got it all. This isn't your average tasting, I'll tell you that. This is Summer Surf Sexy. I saw another event with about the same amount of vendors, or I don't like calling them vendors, producers, that we have, because they're not selling anything, priced at over $100. Like this event, our Pink Drink, is poolside, outside, so much fun, people looking good, having a great time, $65. And you are partying with purpose. Woods Humane Society, the Elks National Foundation, the money's going to a great cause. Want to see you out there. It's exclusive for the grown and sexy, 21 and over. No kids at the pool at the Elks on this day. 21 and over, let's do it. Grab your tickets now. Pink Drank, DRANK, pinkdrank.org.
It's Up and Adam with Adam Montiel.
All right, today's guests, not just voices in the true crime world, they're architects really in how we experience it. Courtney Armstrong and Baudi Moovan are the powerhouse hosts of True Crime Tonight, a 5 nights a week deep dive into the trials, forensics, scandals, and cold cases that keep us all obsessed. Courtney is a seasoned crime storyteller who's developed shows for Nancy Grace, BET, even worked with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Baudi, aka Dina Thompson, she's a digital sleuth whose real-life investigation literally helped catch a killer. It became the heartbeat of Netflix's documentary, Don't Fuck with Cats. If you haven't seen that, you gotta check that out. That is one of the all-time best crime documentaries out there. Together, they're not just covering headlines, they're reshaping how we listen to crime, how we process trauma, and how we could stay human in the middle of all of it, right? Please welcome Courtney Armstrong, Baudi Moovan. Thank you so much, ladies, both of you, for being up and Adam.
Thanks, Adam. We're glad to be here.
You, Adam.
All right, so every night you deliver darkness with a dose of insight, stories that, that chill, but also strangely comfort in a way. For so many, true crime is more than entertainment. It's kind of a ritual. And what do you think people are really looking for when they press play on a true crime episode at night, especially? Is it justice? Is it safety, escape, something deeper, something personal?
Gosh, that's a really good question. I think they're looking for storytelling.
Yeah.
I think after a really long day at the office with the kids, you made dinner, you're cleaning the kitchen. Women in particular really kind of find some comfort in other women, I think, talking about true crime. At least I do, and I know all my friends do too. It's a really interesting, and I don't know why. I don't know what it is, but it's a really interesting place that we're in. I know that when I go to sleep, I turn on Forensic Files, and that's what I fall asleep to.
Right.
And it sounds counterintuitive because you're hearing about people being dismembered and why would you relax to that? It's crazy.
I swear, every time I go to a hotel,
and I don't know why.
Every time I go to a hotel, I swear to God, they have a Forensic Files channel. It's like,
no
matter,
100%.
It's just like,
Discovery ID, right?
You can be watching something different. And then if you're in a hotel in a strange place, Forensic Files will that music and the voiceover will always be there.
In every country, by the way.
Yeah, you're right. In every country
I've been in, they have a Forensics Files channel in the hotel. It's very comforting. It makes me feel like I'm at home.
It feels just like home. When you're deciding, when you guys are deciding which cases to cover, what's that filter? What makes you say, oh, that one belongs on the table?
Oh, well, that's a great question, Adam. So every day we meet at sort of midday to see what has been unfolding, in the news, what is topical. So we have a couple of different lenses. What do people need to know today? It's kind of the summer of trials. Karen Reed is wrapping up. Sean Diddy Combs on trial. We're going to have Luigi Mangione coming up. So when there are updates, we make sure people know what's going on and we talk about those. And then also, it might depend on if we have a certain guest on who's going to walk us through some complicated case from the past that has, interesting forensics we can learn from. So it's a mix of that, but the goal is it's sort of one-stop shop for all things. So you're totally informed.
Baudi, your role in Don't Fuck with Cats was jaw-dropping. I mean, you helped the internet become an investigator in a lot of ways. But justice in a digital world, it comes with a risk. What toll does it take when you stare into the screen and chase horror in pixels? How do you stay human while tracking monsters online?
Oh, I'm no longer human. No, I'm kidding. I think about that a lot, and I definitely am not the same person I once was. Mm-hmm. I think that you're right when you're staring at the screen for so long, and God, it really does have an effect on your psyche, right? Because mm-hmm. you're basically staring at monsters all day long. And I have a really, really good support system. My friends are great. My girlfriend's great. Everyone just loves me so much. And I think that keeps me kind of human. But yeah, no, it's a really fine line, and I'm very careful to walk it very tightly. You have to be very careful.
Yeah,
And
no.
I think you have to also be mentally prepared for like the worst in people. And I am very prepared for the worst in people. I expect the worst from people. So yeah, I do pretty well with that.
Now, Courtney, you embedded yourself in Piketon for years. You sat with survivors, sifted through pain, and turned it into something we could all, digest and kind of understand. What's one moment in that process, big or small, that still really lives with you in a way no headline ever could?
Oh, Adam, my goodness. Yeah, that is something that our co-host Stephanie Leidecker and I have been following for years. And like you said, we've been in and out of Piketon, Ohio. What stands out? I think really our investigative trip before anything, there was no podcast, there was no documentary on Peacock. And we literally went and knocked on doors to speak to people and find out information and just, see what was going on. And honestly, the graciousness of everyone there, that has stuck with me more than being in the courtroom for George Wagner when his sentencing came down for quadruple murder. So kind of the whole range.
Yeah. For many people, true crime is content. For you, both, it's personal work. When you spend your days in darkness, you've got to guard your own light. I'm curious for both of you answer this. How do you both protect your spirit when the work you do consistently exposes you to trauma? What's your personal ritual to kind of return yourself after a hard episode?
I will let you know when I figure that out. No, it's constantly evolving. Like, you're right, Adam. Like I said earlier, you're constantly staring at and talking about monsters all day, right? And I basically just go outside and put my feet in grass. I try to get grounded, and I do a lot of bird watching lately. And I just try to. It sounds kind of weird, but I've been kind of obsessed with the eagles and Big Bear.
Yeah. Yeah. I love Jackie and Shadow and the babies.
Yes,
love them.
Love them. And they make me, listen, I don't know what it is, but they make me feel human.
Yeah.
And so that's what I do. And I try to, like I said, surround myself with really, really, really wonderful people who love me and, bring me back to like normal life after staring at monsters all day. It's very difficult.
Yeah. I just had a rebirth in my connection with them because I had 2 sessions where their babies didn't make it. And I'm like, okay, this is heartbreaking. I can't do Jackie and Shadow for a minute. Oh. And now that they got the babies and now that there's things, now it's like, oh yeah, Jackie and Shadow. Like I
have them up on my TV all day long.
Yes.
I think it's the sounds of nature. It just makes me realize, okay, no, you're okay. You're grounded. Everything's good. I don't know what it is, but the bird watching just kind of calms me, and I do it often.
I can tell you how fucked up I am. I have that in the background, and then like the Karen Reed trial, right? It's like
that same. We would be good friends, Adam.
Right? Yeah. We'd all be tight, right? So let me ask you, Courtney. Same question I asked Baudi. What is it that North Star for you to bring it back?
Oh man, to bring it back, I mean, I'll physically shake my hands out. Sometimes especially if we've been doing interviews for a podcast or documentary, go home and have a good cry. Honestly, after absorbing what people have been through, you have to let it out. And then honestly, just refocus on life. Like you guys were kind of saying, go out, and kind of enjoy what we got.
Yeah.
Because listen, not everybody, so it's, that's kind of the other thing. Yeah. Is to be grateful.
Talking about this all day long makes us kind of realize how lucky we are to, be alive.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Oh, yeah.
And be grateful for every minute because it could really end for any of us at any time. And I don't live my life in like that perpetual state of anxiety over it or anything like that. But it does remind you, that life is precious.
Yeah.
So I keep that in the back of my mind, and also, talking to victims' families and, helping them through the worst moment of their life, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's maybe sharing a flyer or just letting them tell their story.
Yeah.
Those are important stories that people need to hear. And, that is also a guiding light, helping people.
All these stories, so many layers, right? Victims, families, suspects, systems. But the ethics of storytelling don't always come with a manual or rule book. I'm curious what you both have decided or have maybe identified as a line you refuse to cross when telling a true crime story. No matter how sensational it might be, there's a place you get to, you're like, nah,
Yeah. I think for me, the line, it can be a fuzzy one, but things that will inform people and not just to titillate. So if the answer is, ooh, I want to say this because it's so shocking, then it probably doesn't need to be said. It just, accurate information without sort of making a meal out of it and keep it moving. So yeah, I think we all try to stay away from anything gratuitous because there's not a good place for that.
Yeah. We used to watch crime unfold like we were joking about on TV, Forensic Files, right? Now, and we still do, but now we listen to it in traffic, while doing dishes, folding laundry, in bed. The intimacy of audio, this is why I chose radio 25 years ago, the intimacy of audio makes it hit differently. What changes when you're crafting a story for the ear versus the eye? And, what responsibility, Baudi, comes with that kind of closeness to the listener?
That's such a good question. And it's something that I've actually thought about quite a bit when we're talking is, like you said, the ear is different, right? And when you're talking to somebody and you're telling a story about, like I said, like the worst day of somebody's life, the person listening has to imagine it because they can't see anything. So they have to imagine it. And so, because we're telling basically, like I said, the worst day of somebody's life, you try to do it with respect to the victim, with respect to the listener, to give them as much information as possible without being completely insanely gory about what happened to this person. It is a fine line, and it's hard to walk that line, but that's the kind of lens we try to take on the show, is being respectful to the victim, but also not dumbing down things for the listener. Because they do have to, when you're talking, and Adam, I'm sure, you being in radio for so long and knowing that people have to imagine these stories. And so they're picturing it in their mind's eye, right? And you don't want them picturing a dismembered head. You know what I mean? That's not something that you want people to picture. So you have to find creative ways to, let them know what happened without disrespecting the victim.
Yeah.
And it's very difficult, but I think we do a really good job at that.
5 nights a week, stories that matter, just producing something that is every day. When it's all said and done, how is the prep on something like this? And also, you're co-hosts, but you're also co-navigators through some really dark terrain. What's something that you've learned about each other, or ways that you lean on each other that, a resume or a press kit would never reveal in doing this with each other?
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah, Adam, I have to say our co-host Stephanie Leidecker, who and the three of us have all worked together for a long time, but I lean on Stephanie for her just insatiable enthusiasm to all things true crime. And she's kind of this audience proxy and has a knack for saying all the things everyone's just thinking. So I think that is something I lean on Stephanie for. And Baudi, it is like going to school with Baudi Moovan because she is so smart and knowledgeable. So that's who I'm lucky enough to get to work with.
And Courtney, who we're here with right now, she's so victim centered. She really has reverency for the victims, and I've learned a lot about empathy from her. And I hope that's something that makes her smile, because I know she really, really, really cares about the victims, and I've learned a lot from her about that. And then Stephanie, I didn't know she knew so much about trials. Oh my gosh, she's brilliant, right? And
Brilliant.
She's so eloquently. I've just learned that I'm so, honestly, what I've learned is I'm a very lucky woman to work with these two fabulous ladies. And I feel like I'm just sitting around the kitchen table talking with my girlfriends. Like sometimes I forget we're even live.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Because I'm just so in the moment. I'm just there. I
That's
love
so
it.
neat. I got one more Don't Fuck with Cats question. You down?
Yeah. Oh,
Okay,
yeah, dope.
because it wasn't just a documentary, it was like a cultural reset. It showed us
Yeah.
the internet could do more than just make noise. It could be justice. But behind that, the viral moment was real darkness, and you were in it. What's something about that experience, the investigation, the pressure, the fallout, that the cameras didn't show us, but still shaped you forever?
That is tough. What is a moment that the cameras didn't show that shaped me forever? So when they found the victim in the suitcase, Jun Lin, wonderful human being, and I had to tell my boss that, I had been doing this for the last 2 years. And the reason I had to tell my boss was initially they kind of thought that there was a dog involved in this video of the murder of Junlin. And they initially thought because Luca had mailed body parts of Junlin to the Prime Minister of Canada in some elementary schools, that Luca would be sending me the dog. And so that's why I had to tell my boss, because the only thing he knew about me was where I worked. And so that really wasn't talked about in the show.
Yeah.
Of why I had to tell my boss. I explained I had to tell my boss, but I still work with these people, today even. And I can see that they look at me differently now. And that's been kind of difficult to deal with. I'm a very professional person at work,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not like this internet, cyber freak. I'm just, myself.
Yeah.
And they look at me a little bit different now, and that's something that I have to deal with every day. And it's not necessarily in a bad way. It's just different.
What a trip. Oh, I'm so glad you shared that. Courtney, Baudi, I'm so bummed that there was a little bit of a snafu that got me a few minutes in here late. I've just loved talking to the both of you ladies, and I hope to do so again sometime. This was really great.
Yes, thank you so much, Adam. This was wonderful, and I hope San Luis Obispo has a wonderful day today.
Some say life's where it begins. Straight to the stars is where it ends. Only to start again.
All right, thanks to both Courtney and Baudi for what you do. Links in the show notes. Such great convo. Love that. All right, what a day. True Crime Tuesday. All right, more local interviews this week. Who do we got coming up? We'll talk to our friends locally from Lumina Alliance. That's a great conversation on the way. Montiel Williams. Yeah, he has got a new book. Yeah, the talk show dude. He's got a new book that is really, really interesting. We'll talk to Montiel Williams on the show later this week. Lots of fun interviews lined up for the next few weeks. I'm looking at the calendar. Wow, it's really coming together. So thank you so much for connecting here. It means a ton. Thanks to Moonshiner Collective for original music on the show called Start Again. Our friends at Timbre Winery for the Lowbro Studios at Timbre. You can taste their wines. Their tasting room is in the village of Arroyo Grande. Timbre is how you spell it. TimbreWinery.com. And many thank yous to you for rating, reviewing, subscribing to the podcast, what we do here. I've got a brand new episode of Where Wine Takes You with Christina Turley of Turley Wines. She was good. Man, this gal is so smart and so sharp, fighting for Zin. Her dad, Larry Turley, came into the business, and he's like California wine, legend, right? Business legend in the wine world. And she taken that torch and, really putting her own spin on things. Came from New York City in like the food and beverage world. Ran the beverage, program for Momofuku. Cool story. Christina Turley, brand new episode of Where Wine Takes You. Highly, highly, highly recommend this one. It's available wherever you get your podcast. Wherever you're listening to this, you can listen to that. You can also go to PasoWine.com. Thank you for rating, reviewing, subscribing, sharing some love to the show. Sharing it with a friend really helps others discover what we're doing here in this community. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Till tomorrow, I hope you have a great rest of your Tuesday and your week is going swimmingly. I'm Adam Montiel. Thanks again for being Up and Adam.
Some say life's where it begins. Straight to the stars is where it ends. Only to start again. Let's let's start again.